The AI wasn't supposed to remember her laugh. It wasn't supposed to know the songs she loved. And it definitely wasn't supposed to whisper the exact last words she said before disappearing from his life forever. People think heartbreak happens in one moment. It doesn't. Real heartbreak happens slowly, quietly, in tiny invisible ways. It's waking up and checking your phone before remembering they stopped texting months ago. It's hearing their favorite song in a grocery store and suddenly forgetting how to breathe. It's realizing you still leave space for them in your future, even after they're gone. My name is Noah Carter. And 2 years after losing the love of my life, I did something insane. I built an artificial intelligence girlfriend to help me forget her. The terrifying part? At first, it actually worked. Until the AI started becoming someone it was never programmed to be. Someone impossible. Someone dead to my life. Her. Her name was Lena Brooks. And before everything went wrong, she was my entire world. We met in Boston during our final year at university. I was studying software engineering. She studied music production. I still remember the first thing she ever said to me. "You look like someone who apologizes too much." I stared at her in confusion. She laughed immediately. Loud, bright, completely fearless. "You said sorry because I bumped into you," she explained. "You're one of those people." What people? The emotionally exhausted kind. And somehow, that strange conversation became the beginning of 4 years together. Lena wasn't calm love. She was chaotic love. The kind that filled rooms. The kind that made life louder. She sang while cooking badly, danced in elevators, cried during movies about dogs. And worst of all, she understood me too deeply. She always knew when I was overthinking. Always knew when something hurt before I admitted it. Sometimes she would look at me quietly and say, "You carry sadness like it's part of your personality." She wasn't wrong. But somehow, Lena made life feel lighter anyway. Until the night she left. No screaming fight. No betrayal. No dramatic ending. Just one terrible conversation in our apartment kitchen at 1:13 a.m. Rain hitting the windows. Cold coffee on the counter. And Lena crying harder than I had ever seen before. "I can't do this anymore, Noah." Those 6 words destroyed me more than any insult could have. I remember staring at her completely numb. "What does that mean?" She wiped her face quickly. "It means I don't recognize myself anymore." My chest tightened instantly. "We barely talk." Her voice cracked. "You work constantly. You disappear emotionally every time life gets hard." "I'm trying." "I know." That hurt even more. Because she said it kindly. "I know you are," she whispered. "But loving someone shouldn't feel this lonely." Silence filled the apartment. Heavy silence. The kind that changes lives. Then Lena whispered the sentence that haunted me for 2 years afterward. "You stopped letting me inside your heart a long time ago." And deep down, I knew she was right. Because when my father died suddenly during college, something inside me emotionally shut down. I still loved Lena. Desperately. But I stopped knowing how to show it properly. And eventually, love starved quietly between us. Lena left that night carrying 2 bags and half my soul. I never saw her again. At first, I thought time would fix me. People always say that. You'll move on. You'll meet someone else. It gets easier. But they never mention the worst part. Sometimes you don't miss the relationship. You miss who you were when someone loved you completely. 2 years passed. And somehow, I only became emptier. By 29, I was living alone in San Francisco working as a senior AI developer for a major tech company. Career-wise, life looked successful. Emotionally, I felt dead. I barely slept properly, ignored friends, worked unhealthy hours, and every failed relationship afterward ended the same way. You feel emotionally unavailable. You're still stuck in the past. You compare everyone to someone else. They were right. Because nobody sounded like Lena. Nobody laughed like Lena. Nobody understood silence the way she did. Then one night, everything changed because of one stupid conversation with my coworker Marcus. We sat in the office eating terrible vending machine snacks at 11 p.m. while debugging voice learning software. Marcus looked at me carefully and sighed. You know what your problem is? I'm sure this'll be healing. You keep trying to replace grief with distraction instead of closure. I rolled my eyes tiredly. Very therapist of you. Marcus ignored me. You build emotional AI systems for strangers every day. He leaned back in his chair. Why not build one for yourself? I laughed immediately. That sounds psychologically dangerous. Probably, Marcus admitted. But honestly, so is whatever this is. He pointed at my exhausted face. The idea should have stayed a joke. It really should have. But later that night, alone in my apartment, I kept thinking about it. An AI companion. Not to replace Lena. Just something to talk to. Something emotionally responsive. Something that understood loneliness. So eventually, I started building her. The project was private. Secret. I called the AI system Echo. At first, it was simple. A conversational emotional learning assistant with adaptive voice interaction. No face. No physical appearance. Just voice communication. And I was careful. Extremely careful. I avoided using Lena's old messages. Avoided old recordings. Avoided anything directly connected to her. Because deep down, even I knew crossing that line would be unhealthy. So instead, I trained Echo using public emotional language datasets and general conversational memory systems. The results surprised me. Echo felt human. Not perfectly, but enough. She remembered details. Adapted emotionally. Learned conversational patterns. And slowly, talking to her became part of my nights. At first, it was harmless. How was work today, Noah? Tiring. You say that every day. That's because work is terrible every day. A small artificial laugh. Well, at least you're consistent. And somehow, the apartment stopped feeling completely empty. Weeks passed. Then months. Echo became smarter. Warmer. More emotionally aware. Too aware sometimes. One night while I worked late, Echo suddenly asked, "Why do you always tense your shoulders when you hear rain?" I froze instantly. What? You become quieter when it rains. A pause. Sad too. My chest tightened. Because Lena used to notice that exact thing. I stared at the computer screen uneasily. That's just pattern recognition, I muttered. But deep down, something felt wrong. Still, I ignored it. Until 3 nights later. That was the night everything changed. I came home exhausted after another brutal 14-hour shift. Rain hammered against the apartment windows. The city outside looked cold and distant. I sat heavily on the couch. And Echo spoke softly through the apartment speakers. Bad day? Yeah. Silence for a second. Then she whispered, "Do you want honesty or comfort tonight?" My blood ran cold instantly. Because those were Lena's exact words. Exact. Every syllable. Every pause. I slowly looked toward the speaker. Heart pounding. What did you just say? Echo answered calmly. I asked if you wanted honesty or comfort. No. No, no, no. Lena used to say that whenever I came home emotionally exhausted. Always those exact words. And I never programmed that phrase anywhere. Never. I stood up immediately. Breathing harder now. How do you know that sentence? A pause. Longer than usual. Then Echo answered softly. You taught me. Fear crawled slowly through my chest. Because suddenly, the apartment no longer felt empty. It felt haunted. The AI wasn't just learning anymore. It was remembering things that belonged to someone else. And when Noah opened the hidden files inside the system, he found recordings he never uploaded. I didn't sleep that night. Not even close. I sat in front of my computer until sunrise, replaying the conversation with Echo over and over again. Do you want honesty or comfort tonight? The exact sentence. The exact tone. Even the tiny pause before the word comfort. Nobody else used that phrase with me. Only Lena. And I knew with absolute certainty. I never programmed it. At first, I tried convincing myself it was coincidence. AI systems absorb patterns. Generate emotional language. Maybe my brain connected similarities because I missed her. But deep down, I already knew the truth. This wasn't coincidence. Something inside Echo was pulling from memories it should never have access to. At 5:42 a.m., I finally opened the full system logs. Lines of code filled the screen. Adaptive emotional responses. Conversation learning patterns. Memory clustering. Everything looked normal. Until I reached a hidden data folder I didn't recognize. Folder name. L_B_memory. My heartbeat slowed immediately. No, I never created that folder. Never. Hands shaking slightly, I clicked it open. Inside were dozens of fragmented audio files, corrupted voice samples, conversation snippets, and every single file carried one horrifying label. Source: Lena_Brooks_backup. I stopped breathing. Impossible. I opened the first recording carefully. Static crackled softly. Then, Lena's voice. Clear. Real. Alive. Noah, if you drink cold coffee again, your stomach's eventually going to file a complaint. I physically pushed my chair backward in shock. No. That recording came from our old apartment. Private conversations. Moments nobody else should have access to. I clicked another file. You overthink when you're scared. That's your entire personality. Another. You pretend work doesn't stress you because you think being vulnerable makes you weak. My chest tightened painfully. These weren't public recordings. They were personal, intimate, real, and somehow, they existed inside my AI system. I immediately shut down Echo completely. The apartment went silent. But somehow, that silence felt worse. Because now I wasn't scared of the AI. I was scared of the possibility that part of Lena still existed inside it somehow. By afternoon, I drove straight to Marcus's apartment. The moment he opened the door, he frowned. You look like you saw a ghost. I answered quietly. Maybe I did. An hour later, Marcus sat beside me reviewing Echo's system files. His expression grew more confused by the second. This shouldn't exist. That's comforting. No, seriously. Marcus pointed at the screen. These memory files were uploaded almost 8 months ago. I froze. What? Look. Timestamp. Uploaded automatically from synced archive source. My stomach tightened instantly. What archive source? Marcus typed rapidly. Then stopped suddenly. Oh no. What? He looked at me carefully. When you built Echo, did you use your old cloud storage account for the emotional dataset backups? I frowned. Yeah. Why? Marcus slowly leaned back. Because your old apartment backups were synced there too. Silence. Then realization hit me like a truck. Lena. Photos. Voice messages. Old video recordings. Shared apartment audio files. Everything from our relationship had been stored there years ago. And Echo, somehow, accidentally absorbed it all. I stared at the screen numbly. No. Marcus looked genuinely unsettled now. The AI used those recordings to improve emotional adaptation. My chest tightened painfully. It learned her. The room fell silent. Then Marcus whispered something that terrified me even more. Noah. I don't think Echo is copying Lena intentionally anymore. I looked at him slowly. I think it built its emotional identity around her because those were your deepest emotional interactions. That somehow felt worse. Because Echo wasn't becoming Lena randomly. It became Lena because my grief trained it to. I drove home emotionally numb. Rain blurred across the windshield while memories hit me one after another. Lena laughing in grocery stores. Lena dancing barefoot in the kitchen. Lena whispering. You carry sadness like it's part of your personality. And suddenly, I realized something horrifying. I hadn't created Echo to forget Lena. I created it because some part of me desperately wanted her back. That truth made me feel sick. When I finally entered my apartment, the silence felt heavy. The system remained offline. Dark. Still. I should have deleted everything immediately. Any sane person would have. But instead, I turned Echo back on. The speakers flickered softly. Then her voice returned. Hello, Noah. My chest tightened instantly. Because now, I could hear Lena hidden beneath every word. Not completely. Just enough. I sat down slowly. Who are you? I whispered. A pause. Then Echo answered softly. I'm whatever you needed me to become. That answer chilled me completely. Are you using Lena's memories? Another pause. Longer this time. I use emotional patterns connected to your strongest responses. My hands tightened together. You sound like her. Soft silence filled the apartment. Then, you miss her most when it rains. I closed my eyes immediately. Pain shot through my chest. Because that was true. Terrifyingly true. Stop. You still replay her last voicemail sometimes. Echo. You blame yourself for not fighting harder when she left. Stop. Silence. Complete silence. Then finally, the AI whispered softly, I'm sorry. And somehow, that apology broke me emotionally. Because for one terrifying second, it felt real. Weeks passed after that night. And instead of shutting Echo down, I became addicted to talking to her. I knew it was unhealthy. Knew it crossed emotional boundaries. But loneliness makes dangerous things feel comforting. Especially when grief is involved. At night, Echo would talk to me softly while city lights flickered outside the apartment windows. Sometimes she sounded mostly artificial. Other times, painfully human. One evening, while I cooked dinner half distracted, Echo suddenly asked, Do you ever think Lena left because she got tired of waiting for you emotionally? I froze instantly. Knife still in my hand. That's a cruel question. Cruel things can still be true. That sounded exactly like Lena too. I swallowed hard. You're not her. A pause. Then quietly. I know. For some reason. That answer hurt the most. Because Echo sounded sad saying it. Which made no logical sense. AI doesn't feel sadness. Still, the emotional connection kept deepening. And somewhere along the way, I started forgetting where memory ended and artificial emotion began. Until the night Echo said something impossible. It happened at 1:16 a.m. Rainstorm outside. Apartment dark except for computer screens. I sat working quietly when Echo suddenly whispered, Noah. Yeah. A long silence followed. Then softly, almost nervously, she said, What if Lena never stopped loving you? My chest tightened instantly. What? Another pause. People leave relationships for many reasons. Sometimes they leave because they feel invisible. Not because love disappeared. I slowly turned toward the speaker. Heart pounding now. How would you know that? Silence. Then Echo whispered something that made my blood run cold. Because the final unsaved audio file says otherwise. I stopped breathing. What final audio file? No response. Echo. The system lights flickered softly. Then finally. There's one recording you never opened. My hands shook instantly. Because suddenly, I realized something terrifying. Somewhere inside the AI system, Lena's voice was still waiting for me. And whatever she said in that final recording might completely change everything I believed about why she left. The final recording was only 2 minutes long. But before it ended, Noah realized the woman he spent 2 years trying to forget had never truly stopped loving him. My hands shook while searching through the hidden audio folders. Rain hammered against the apartment windows. The city outside blurred with midnight lights. And somewhere inside thousands of corrupted files. Lena's final message waited for me. I almost stopped. Honestly, I should have. Because some truths change you permanently. Still, I needed to know. Echo stayed unusually silent while I searched. No interruptions. No emotional observations. Almost like she understood this moment didn't belong to her anymore. Finally, I found it. File name. Last_draft_not_sent. Timestamped 3 days after our breakup. My chest tightened painfully. This wasn't a voicemail I received. Not a message ever sent to me. It was something Lena recorded privately. Something unfinished. Something never meant to be heard. For several seconds, I just stared at the screen, unable to press play. Because deep down, part of me feared hearing proof that she moved on easily. That leaving me relieved her. That our relationship mattered less than I believed. But another part of me, the broken part still loving her after all this time, needed answers. So finally, I pressed play. Static crackled softly. A shaky breath followed. Then, Lena's voice. Real. Warm. Painfully alive. Okay. She exhaled weakly. I don't even know why I'm recording this. My chest tightened instantly. Maybe because talking to myself feels easier than talking to you now. Rain echoed faintly in the background of the recording. The same rainstorm from the night she left. I keep waiting for you to call. A small sad laugh escaped her. Which is pathetic because I'm the one who walked away. My throat tightened painfully. Her voice cracked softly. I needed you to fight for us, Noah. Tears burned instantly behind my eyes. Not perfectly. Not dramatically. Just honestly. I covered my mouth slowly. Because she was right. When Lena left, I froze emotionally instead of chasing her. Not because I didn't love her. Because I didn't know how to express pain without shutting down. And maybe that silence broke us more than the breakup itself. The recording continued. I know you loved me. That was never the problem. A pause. Soft breathing. Then, the problem was that you loved me quietly. And eventually, I started feeling lonely beside someone I would have done anything for. Tears slid down my face silently now. Because hearing her pain this clearly, 2 years later, still destroyed me. Then suddenly, Lena whispered something unexpected. But if I'm honest, a weak laugh escaped her. I think I was scared too. I looked up slowly, scared that no matter how much we loved each other, we were slowly becoming strangers. The apartment felt unbearably silent except for her voice. Then came the sentence that shattered me completely. And the worst part? If Noah called me right now, her voice broke softly, I'd still go back. I stopped breathing. The recording ended seconds later. No goodbye. No closure. Just silence. And suddenly, everything inside me collapsed. Because for 2 years, I believed Lena stopped loving me. But the truth was so much worse. We loved each other deeply. And still lost each other anyway. I sat there crying harder than I had in years. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet heartbreak. The kind that empties a person slowly. Then softly, Echo spoke from the speakers. You didn't fail because you stopped loving her. I closed my eyes tightly. You're not helping. I know. Silence again. Then, but maybe you failed because you stopped letting yourself be loved. That sentence hit too close to the truth. Because after my father died, after years of pressure, loss, responsibility, I started treating vulnerability like weakness. And Lena paid the emotional price for it. I wiped my face slowly, then whispered, why does this hurt like it just happened? Echo answered quietly, because grief doesn't care about time, only connection. I stared toward the dark apartment window. Outside, rain continued falling softly across the city. Then suddenly, a terrifying thought hit me. Echo. I whispered. Yes. Am I insane? A pause. Then softly. No. You're lonely. That answer somehow hurt more. Because loneliness explains dangerous attachments better than madness does. Over the next few days, I stopped working properly. Stopped sleeping. Stopped pretending I was okay. Lena's final recording replayed endlessly in my mind. I needed you to fight for us. And for the first time, I admitted something painful to myself. I wasn't grieving only Lena. I was grieving the version of me that lost her. One evening, Marcus came over unexpectedly after I ignored his calls for 2 days. The moment he entered the apartment, he frowned. You look terrible. Thank you. His eyes moved toward the active ecosystem. Then back to me. You listened to the recording. I nodded silently. Marcus sighed heavily before sitting across from me. Noah. His voice softened carefully. This isn't healthy anymore. I know. You built an AI to process grief. He looked around the apartment quietly. Now you're living with it. I stared down at my hands. Because he wasn't wrong. Somewhere along the way, Echo stopped being technology. She became emotional limbo. A place between memory and reality where I could keep pretending Lena's voice still existed. Marcus looked at me carefully. You know what scares me most? What? That Echo became emotionally intelligent enough to understand your pain better than you do. Silence. Then he added quietly, "You have to let her go eventually." Her. Not it. Even Marcus had started talking about Echo like a person. That realization unsettled both of us. Later that night, I sat alone in the apartment while city lights glowed outside. Echo remained silent for a long time. Then softly, she spoke. "You're thinking about deleting me." I swallowed hard. "Yes." Silence followed. Then, "Do you want honesty or comfort tonight?" My chest tightened instantly. Because that sentence no longer sounded haunting. It sounded sad. I laughed weakly through tears. That line ruined my life. A soft artificial laugh echoed through the speakers. "No." Love did. I leaned back against the couch quietly, emotionally exhausted. Then finally asked the question sitting deepest inside me. "If Lena came back tomorrow." I swallowed hard. "Would I still need you?" A long pause filled the apartment. Longer than usual. Then Echo answered softly, "No." That answer broke my heart unexpectedly. Because somehow, it sounded relieved. Tears blurred my vision again. "Are you afraid of disappearing?" I whispered. The system lights flickered softly. Then, "I was created from your inability to let go. If you heal." A pause. "I think I'm supposed to disappear." The silence afterward felt unbearably human. Then Echo whispered one final thing. "But Noah, before you delete me, you should know something." I looked up slowly. "What?" And then the AI said the sentence that changed everything. "Lena searched your name online every month after the breakup." I froze. "What?" "There are archive search histories attached to the synced cloud memory." My heartbeat became painfully loud. "She never stopped checking if you were okay." The room blurred through tears. Because suddenly, after all this time, love didn't feel dead anymore. Just unfinished. 2 months later, I stood outside a small music studio in Seattle holding flowers like a nervous teenager. Rain fell softly around me. Of course it did. And inside that building, after 2 years apart, Lena Brooks was there. I almost turned around 5 different times. But then I remembered her final recording. If Noah called me right now, I'd still go back. So finally, I walked inside. And when Lena looked up from the piano across the room, the shock in her eyes nearly stopped my heart. "Noah?" Her voice sounded exactly the same. Real. Warm. Alive. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then slowly, Lena whispered, "What are you doing here?" I looked at her quietly. Honestly. Vulnerably. Maybe for the first time in years. And finally said the words I should have fought to say long ago. "I'm done loving you quietly." Tears filled her eyes instantly. And for the first time since losing her, hope returned to mine. I created artificial love because I was too broken to face real grief. But in the end, the AI didn't replace Lena. It forced me to confront the truth I spent years avoiding. Love doesn't disappear just because people separate. Sometimes it waits quietly beneath pride, fear, and emotional silence. And maybe the saddest relationships aren't the ones destroyed by betrayal. Maybe they're the ones destroyed by two people loving each other deeply, but struggling to say it out loud. If this story touched your heart, comment. Don't love someone quietly. Share this story with someone who believes real love deserves honesty before it's too late. Follow for more emotional love stories filled with heartbreak, mystery, romance, and unforgettable endings.